Hello, I'm Anthony Michael Geruso. I have done an interview with God, and also I am planning on doing more interviews with other entities as well. If you have any questions that you would like me to ask God on your behalf, please email me at wondersofAnthony@gmail.com, and I will ask God your question or questions, and I will put them in a different recording, and I will upload this recording with your questions. If you have any questions directly for me, please use the same email address, wondersofAnthony@gmail.com. So this is a quick interjection. So how I talk to God, I talk to God like I'm talking to you right now on this recording. And God responds to me through my own mouth, my own voice box, I guess, if you want to call it that. And words come out through it. God, what do you think about me doing this recording? Well, I think you're actually going to help a lot of people, and I really think that people are going to start actually obeying my orders. So pretty much this is how this works. I'm not coming up with words, but obviously there's going to be skeptics, and there's nothing I can do about that, okay? As you can kind of hear, there is a little bit of a voice change. I don't know if the voice change has anything to actually do with God talking with me or through me or any of that. That's just how I do it, okay? So keep that in mind, and also, if you're a skeptic, a non-believer, and I end up telling you things from what I did with my interview with God earlier, maybe you should try to find out if these things that might seem wild or ridiculous to you, if they're actually true. And maybe you don't have the means of doing that right now as you listen to this, but you might find something, out that actually turns out to be true, that God was actually 100% correct about. So let's go on with part one. I am Anthony Michael Geruso of Planet Earth, and I'm making this recording for my species to have this knowledge that, apparently for reasons I don't particularly understand, cannot get. Now, I want you to know up front that on this wonderful sunny day that my species has claimed as the date of being 6/21/2023 here in this amazing city that's quite small, though, called Vero Beach, Florida, where I'm taking this recording right now. I want you all to know and have this information. But be warned, just in case. Either this entity who claimed to be God is either A, telling 100% of the truth, B, telling only some of the truth and some lies, or C, telling 100% lies. Now, before I get into this quick interview that I did, This is not every question that I had come up with, but I'm doing this now because I've got a whole stack of papers, and I think for me it's going to be easier to do this voice recording than to type it. I might type it later at some point, I don't know. But I want this because a lot of people prefer to have an auditory record over a paper record, but it's always good to have both. And I have the original paper records of what I wrote, but my handwriting might not be as easy to read for some people. So I might end up typing it at some point. But what's so interesting is, before I get into this interview, is I asked God, are curses real? God told me, yes, curses are real. I asked God where the Ark of the Covenant was. God said that there's one in Ethiopia, that there is one in the area that we now call Oregon, United States of America, that's buried near a mine where people are mining, and it was placed there by non-human intelligences, and that the third Ark of the Covenant is actually off planet Earth right now, and this off-world site is pronounced Origus. It's not the same as Oregon. Then I asked God, is the New Jersey Devil real? And God replied to me, no. The New Jersey Devil is a made-up story. So this is kind of interesting. So if God lied to me 100%, then that would actually mean that the Ark of the Covenant is not at any of those locations, and that curses are fake, but the New Jersey Devil's real. If that was the lie. Right? It could be a little bit of truth and lies, and that this entity is not God. Or if it is God, curses are real, the Ark of the Covenant are at these locations, and the New Jersey Devil is actually fraudulent. So, keep that in mind. Now, this is in no particular order. I didn't... got all these papers here, and I never really put them in order. And when I tried putting them in order, it just got messy. So, if things seem out of order, or the questions seem a little out of order for you, that's because they are. And it's just because I have this big mess of papers here, and I just want to get this documented, and that's why I'm doing this voice recording now. So, without further ado, I'm going to tell you the questions and what God has actually told me. And we're going to get into interesting topics, including pedophilia, ancient Egypt, things that are within our solar system and within our galaxy, and things far beyond our comprehension, UFOs, crime, and God actually gets into something, intentions. Alright? So this is going to be really interesting. This is not creative writing. Okay? I actually did what I would call an interview, and I asked God all of these questions. How did I do it? I used the method where I just talk out loud like I'm talking to you now. I asked God to answer these questions for me, and out of my own mouth came these bizarre revelations, which, by the way, contradicts my own personal views. That's why I really do believe I'm communicating with God. Okay? And I think maybe in this recording, when I come across some of those things that I didn't believe in or things that I did believe in and God told me no, I think I'm probably going to bring that up at those points during this recording. So, something I wrote down, I wrote, enjoy your life and follow God's orders. Now, on the back of this paper, this was God talking, but I don't know. See, it's so unorganized. You know what, I'll just read it as I go through it, and maybe I'll figure out where it goes. But I think God was in the middle or partway through a response to me. I don't remember what the question was. Maybe I'll figure it out as I read it. God said to me, I can hinder and slow down the time frame for war, but war and its atrocities are inevitable. If atheists start war, they're not my people. If they reject me, they are not my people. If they don't follow most of my orders, they are not my people. If the forest people, even if they follow my orders, can't ever go to paradise, for they are not my people. I am responsible for the afterlife of my people. The living are responsible to stop or not engage in warfare. If I had that ability to stop or prevent war, I would have done that already. Fallen angels have done terrorist acts which led to humans committing terrorist acts, which led to war. Some wars are started by non-human evil entities which are unavoidable for the living involved. However, a lot of wars for the next 3,000 year period, then 14,000 mostly peaceful worldwide with few wars. I think that means oh, okay, I get it. It says a lot of wars for the next 3,000 years. So that's for us, the humans. Then I think that means that there's going to be at least 14,000 years of a mostly peaceful world with very few wars. Okay, here's something I asked. Are many wars started because of jealousy and greed? God replied to me in this interview, yes, many wars are started with those two traits. And then I asked God, how will... I don't even see that on here, but I remember asking God something about how the world will end of the humans, or something to that regard. And God replied something that said, a massive rewrite of DNA and disease killing about 3/4 of the planet, and too many infertile, slow decline of population until not enough people to support their species. This will happen during a 1,000 years period. So, again, I apologize if you're listening to this and this might make sense to you or not make sense to you. Again, it's not in order, but I'm going to have to make a couple parts of this. So this will be part one. I asked, should humans collect anything? God said, collections are not needed for heaven and do not need to collect anything while they are alive. I said, I am a collector. Will my collections reduce my ability to join you in paradise? God said, you don't need a collection or multiple. Having a or multiple collections are not against the rules. Okay, so what God's saying is that you can pretty much have a collection and still get into heaven. I asked, do intentions of collections make a difference into going to heaven, earth, or hell? God said, your collections are not able to get you into anywhere. You're not going to be sent to hell for your collections. You are not going to be sent to earth for your collections. You will not be sent to heaven for your collections. You will not be sent to hell for your collections. I asked, are there only 4 possibilities for humans after they die? And God said, yes, there are only 4 possibilities for humans to happen to their fates in the afterlife. Now, I remember I actually talked to God, and God told me that there are actually 4 possibilities. I'm going to say this in the next recording. I'm going to stop this recording real quick. So this is part 1. I'm going to tell you the 4, and I'm going to retell this in the next one. God told me that there are 4 possibilities when you die. Okay? You either go to paradise. That's what God calls heaven. Humans call it heaven. God has always been referring throughout this interview that heaven, what we call heaven, God calls paradise. You could go to earth and have an extended afterlife. God told me that, right, you would be a ghost here on this planet, and right before the end of the destruction of this planet, he would transfer these group of good enough to be transferred ghosts, spirits, to another planet right before the destruction of this earth. The third place would be to stay on Earth and be destroyed with the Earth, with no eligibility of being transferred. Okay? And the people who come back to Earth, regardless of which type of benefit of being able to be transferred or not transferred, you're good enough not to go to hell, but still bad enough not to go to paradise. And that's why we have a lot of these ghosts here. Okay? That's why you find a lot of your families, they weren't really good enough to get into heaven. Okay? God has some very specific judgments, mostly on intentions. And if you're really, really bad, evil, you get sent to hell. And hell originally was just like planet Earth, but then it got corrupted by the devil. I'm going to be explaining about how the devil and God are interconnected later. I'm Anthony Druso. This is part 1. I think I'm going to just keep doing like 20-minute segments every time I do something about this. Because, again, it's unorganized, but I just need this out now.